Hi guys, welcome back to Glass City Gaming. It's me, Jay, and I'm here with Kyle, and we're going to be talking about human teams here in Blood Bowl 2.
Alright, today we're going to talk about the humans. We're going to build a very standard team, and we have Jay talk a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, Kyle, some of the strengths that the humans possess is they're very adaptable. They can run down any elf player, they can go toe to toe with any orc team. However, some of their weaknesses are they're pretty squishy, kind of hard to master.
Alright, so moving on. Name, motto, all that stuff's kind of self-explanatory. Your logo, colors. Stadium name, just throw one in here real quick.
What you
Alright,
just clicked through back there was assistant. It will essentially build a team for you, and that's not what we're looking for.
right. Now, before I buy any players, and this isn't, law, but this is what I go by with all my default teams, is I'll buy 3 rerolls and an apothecary.
You're going to want that apothecary, especially with a team like this. You're going to be going through players against some of these bashier teams.
Let me
You're going
add
to
us
lose
a
a
sweet
player.
motto. Alright, who we buying first, Jay?
We're,
Standard human team.
we're going to be picking up our throwers first because we need someone to move the ball down the line. And with sure hands and pass, going to be the best guys for it.
Alright, so we'll,
They get a free reroll for the sure hands, and being able to pass the ball is something that few players can actually do in Blood Bowl.
right, efficiently. Alright, so for this team, we're going to get one thrower. That's our star quarterback. We're going to move on to the catchers next.
And to touch back on that thrower there, he'll be able to pick up the ability leadership once we level him up. That'll give him, the whole team a free reroll, so it's pretty nice.
Alright, so talk a little bit about the catchers.
All right, the catchers have catch, surprising,
Yep.
and dodge. Catch is pretty much self-explanatory. They get a chance to re-roll a failed catch roll, which is pretty often the case.
Yeah.
And you're going to want two of those guys.
Alright, so we're going to roll with 2 on this team, and next we're going to go to the bread and butter, my favorite players on the human teams, and the most useful skill, if you ask me.
Yes, block is one of the few things that every team needs, and
Right.
if every player can have it, it's even better.
Yeah, that's the holy grail right there. That's the best skill.
If you can manage to get block and dodge on all players, your team's doing okay.
So we're gonna pick up 4 as max as we can get on this team.
As we can get on there,
Yeah,
and
and
then we're gonna fill up the rest of the team with linemen.
yep, those lonely $50,000 a piece linemen. That'll take us to 11.
Everything's done right. Should leave us enough money to go and put in a little bit into our fan factor, so we can earn some money at the end of some games.
All right, so money spent, players lined up. We got 11, enough to start a game. That is a standard human team.
This is your basic loadout. I wouldn't bother picking up an ogre until later in the season. When you earn a little bit of cash, because you really want to get block on all your linemen and start leveling up these throwers and catchers.
Okay, now we're gonna talk a little bit about a Bashy setup for the humans, focused around an ogre. Gonna go ahead and add our rerolls and our apothecary real quick.
Yeah, you'll notice that this is pretty much standard data for most teams here in Blood Bowl. You're always going to want an apothecary, and you're always going to want rerolls.
Right, Jay, let's talk a little bit about this big guy right here.
All right, the ogre, he's fairly strong with his 5 strength. His agility 2 is going to stop him from being able to pick up much balls. And Bonehead is a pretty serious offense. To most big guys, though, they have some downfalls. On the roll of 1, he's unable to do anything until a sequential roll of a 2 during your next phase when you activate him. Doesn't sound that big of a deal, but when you accompany it with Loner, you're going to want to throw rerolls at it, but refrain from doing it. You're going to be wasting more rerolls than you think, because he's only going to get to use those rerolls on a 4+. But that does not make him a bad player.
Yeah.
Most of the time, he's going to be causing a lot of casualties. He's got Mighty Blow, which, as anyone knows, is #1 killer, and Thick Skull, which is going to save him on a lot of these KO rolls.
Alright, another thing is he has throw teammate, but on a human team there's no one to throw, so it's kind of just there. It'll make more sense in later videos when you use ogres, but not for the humans.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to get block on him as soon as possible.
Yep. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and add the bread and butter.
Yeah, these 5 players here are going to be the cornerstone of your team. You got 4 blitzers and an ogre. The blitzers are going to do what they do. They block and are going to be essentially your front line.
The whole rest of the team we're just going to fill out with linemen. They're cheap, and they have the potential, if you can get them to pick up the ball and run it in, to get block and become essentially another blitzer.
Yeah, this is not a team where you're going to be running the ball a lot. You're not going to be throwing the ball nearly at all. You're going to get the ball and you're going to cage up and you're going to slow roll the ball in there.
Yeah, you'll notice we have 10K left over. That's going to go to fan factors, since you can't buy it at anywhere but the beginning of the creation of your team. And yeah, like Jay said, if you can pick up the ball, you're going to cage guys around it and basically get to the end zone the only way you know how, which is square by square.
Yeah, slow and steady.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race. Get a turtle up.
This is very similar to the first team, but just you'll learn that the changing of a few players can make a big difference in your team lineup.
Hey, how's it going? All right, now we're going to talk about a agility team, agility human team, and this is kind of the team that I play with when I build human teams. So we're going to go right in. We're going to start with the 3 rerolls and the apothecary. It's a new.
Yeah, that apothecary, I cannot stress how important it is for a human team.
Well, you'll find out. You'll find out later on if you don't get it. Alright, what I like to do here is, because this is an agile team, because the whole purpose of this is to pick it and throw it, get both throwers. We're going to go ahead and get all 4 of these catchers.
This is for some good long range play.
This is guaranteeing those downfield passes. Okay, we're only gonna get 2 blitzers this time. Okay, so you want to try and make sure these guys don't get hurt, because it's kind of a big deal. They're something you can lean on. The rest of your team is just gonna be linemen. Like I said, they're cheap. They're only 1 movement away from being a blocker. Once they get the block skill. So, they're not too bad for 50 grand. Speaking of 50 grand, we have that left over. We're going to dump it all into Fan Factor.
Yeah, some people would pick up at that 12th player just as a replacement, but we already got an apothecary and several rerolls to kind of handle that situation. We're better off picking up the Fan Factor now. That way we can earn some serious money.
And, the reason I do this is because you have these those big money players right here. You have those highlight reel players. You can score. So even if you're getting the crap beat out of you, these guys are gonna make the score. They're gonna have to play catch up. So once you score, 3-4 times in a game, if they have a slower team, they're not gonna be able to score come those last couple of turns. You're gonna win. That's when that fan factor was really going to boost your pot. And then you can go and buy the rest of the blitzers and anybody else that you need. Maybe.
Yeah, your linemen and blitzers are just going to tie up their lines, and your catchers are going to be using their dodge ability and that catch to get out there. And then as it progresses, you're going to want to get Hail Mary and a few things on your throwers, so you can really do some downfield play.
Maybe accurate. Accurate's extremely important.
That's another good one.
Adds a point to your agility when throwing. Dump off, just in case one of your throwers get blitzed, throw it to a guy near him.
Leadership.
Yeah, leadership.
Throwers are pretty much your quarterback. Well, they are a quarterback for the team, but
they're your rock star.
They're really important. Yeah.
Guys are when built correctly, they're a threat for sure. Now it's time to have a little fun. Jay coined the phrase snowball team. Jay, what exactly is a snowball team?
All right, a snowball team is essentially you're going to fill out the bare minimum for your players. For this here, we're going to start off with a little different here. We're going to go with our apothecary first because we're going to want it. You're definitely going to want that. And we're going to max out our fan factor because this whole team is about making money. We're going to get as much out of that as possible. And then we'll come back for re-rolls later.
You can only buy 9 fan factor here, but it does go up once you play through a season, right?
Yes. Yeah, your fan factor will go past this, but this is so we're making as much money as we can each game so we can actually fill in because we're going to lose players and so we can buy players that are worth having. We're going to go with about a team re-roll of 5 for right now. That should give us enough money left to fill out the rest of the team.
Right, so we got a solid number of rerolls, we got a solid number of fan factor, and we got our apothecary. So what's the team gonna look like?
All right, we're going to go with our one thrower because that way we can pick up another re-roll as soon as possible. This is going to be our one splurging thing for the team we're going to go with. And we're going to go with 10 linemen.
10 linemen.
They're cheap. That's going to be about 500K right there. And that's going to be our basis for our team. We're going to be left with a little bit of cash. We're going to pick up some cheerleaders and assistant coaches. But this is a straight run.
So
every
you want to
game
go
you
2
play,
and 2 with the cheerleaders and coaches?
Yeah, that should. Now, as you're playing through these longer seasons, this team does not look very ideal. But as you're going to take a couple losses, you're going to pick up a win here or there. But ultimately, you're going to be paid more for each game you play, and you're going to catch up and surpass these other teams really quickly within the third or fourth round. And you're going to be able to fill up those extra slots with your blitzers and your ogre, and by then your linemen will be leveled up, and you can kind of sort through which ones are worth keeping on the team and which ones are worth cutting. This is something that's real important to do. Get blitz or block on your players as soon as possible. And your thrower is just going to be throwing to each one of these players, so they're all going to be leveling up. It's going to work out.
So it's kind of just whoever you can get near the end zone, make it happen with them, and then all the weaker guys, cut them once you start getting those stronger players to keep your team value down.
Yep. So you're going to want to pick up your blitzers next, and then once you got your blitzers, then you can go off and get your catchers, maybe a second thrower. But main thing is keep your thrower protected while you're playing. Keep him very shotgun. You don't want to put him out there and take a chance of him getting hurt. I mean, you'll make enough money at the end of all the games to be able to replace him, but you're trying to gain money and not lose it.
Right. And if you guys have any other way that you build human teams, just go ahead and let us know in the comment section.